Hello, welcome back to Tommy's Top Picks Weekly Roundup Podcast, episode 21. I'm your host, Tommy. I'm joined by John.
How's it going?
Good. And I'm joined by Murphy.
Hello.
Oh, howdy. So, we are back with a new episode. Our main topic today is going to be collecting cards versus collecting comics and what is involved in acquiring, storing, cataloging, and selling them. Or just keeping them. You never know. Whatever you want to do. Can't take them with you, though. So, we do want to plug our 200 sub giveaway. We are rapidly approaching 200 subscribers on YouTube. We are giving away a 9.8 CGC graded version of King in Black, issue 1 by Marvel Comics, signed by Ryan Stegman and Donnie Cates. A super great thing for any comic book collection. And all you have to do to win it is live in the United States and comment on our top 5 picks. There are not many entries, so you have a very high chance of winning this if you do. So, what you got to do? Go to our top 5 videos. There are a decent amount of them now. You can go to any of them so far. You can do every single one. You are not too late. All you have to do is watch the video, be a subscriber, live in the United States, and comment your top pick for that week. And you will be entered to win this gorgeous book. We show it off in a lot of the episodes, so you'll get to see it there. So how was our weeks? What did we do?
Well, before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to our viewers, especially our new viewers. I really appreciate putting in the really hard work of watching our videos and taking my Icelander loss off the top of our list. It has been the most viewed video for the longest time, and now the Spider-Man one is.
Oh, no way! Guys. Wait, what?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, in the recent.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, wait, is it closing 1,000?
No. But it's now not the first thing I see every time I get to the end of it. So I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Oh, that's funny.
Keep up the good work.
Spider-Man. So, we also have a Patreon if you're interested in supporting content like this. Gets you a bunch of cool perks, gets you into our private Discord, so you can come hang out with us and all our friends and talk Flesh and Blood and comics and MetaZoo and all the other things we do. Random things. And play some games with us. You can play some games. You can chat, hang out. And you can also purchase cards from us. You can purchase a box break. We offer box breaks at different ones every month at different prices. And you can order one of those through Patreon. And then we will open the box and make a video just for you, opening your box before we send you the contents of the box. So that could be cool. We have some good boxes up. So
yeah, for sure.
Just a thing. And we are thinking about adding some other stuff down the road, so it could get even more spicy and fun. I just have to work out those things. And when I work out those things, I will bring them to you. Hopefully by next week's podcast, I will have some answers that I've been searching for. So, what did we play? I played Blitz this week. I played Kasai at our local armory. I came in third. I tied... I think there were 3 of us. There were 3-1, but it all depends on when you lost. I lost to Kano doing Kano things. It's fine. Blitz is Blitz. But, yeah, it was very impressive. Like, it was... So, one thing I did not realize. One, Kasai does not do well against Kano at all. It is a very hard matchup if Kano even pops off just a little bit. Because I do not have... I should just not even bring Null Rune and just try and race, honestly. I think that's it. And it's still not a good chance, but I think it's a higher chance. Because even with the Null Rune, it's... Now, probably keep the Null Rune boots because the other boots wouldn't do anything. The Dynamos wouldn't do anything. The bracers I should keep. And I might even do the Sharpen Helm, the new one from Everfest. Mm-hmm. I might do that in the next round. And Courage for the chest, of course. But
so risky. because there's enough on hit, like on arcane damage, do more damage in your next
Right,
Kano thing.
I know, but I don't. But so here's the thing. Say, okay, you do that, right? And I pitch 3 reds and a blue to block it, most of it out, right?
Yeah.
And then I have no cards in my hand, right?
Yep.
And so then Kano's like, okay. And then it's Kano's turn. So Kano draws, or Kano has I basically give up my next turn, and then Kano has an opportunity, a window, to use a full hand against me when I have 0 cards in my hand.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I
So
understand the dilemma, but
I don't think
letting Kano do Kano things is always a risky thing in my
but
opinion.
you do that just
I
by
don't know.
playing against him with Kasai. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm new theories every week. Stay tuned.
I didn't play anything except a bazillion games at Pro Tour. That was a lot of fun.
That was super fun.
Yeah, I played a ton of stuff there.
I'm learning a Lexi deck.
Blitz all the way on the side.
And UPF.
Oh yeah, Ultimate Pit Fight. Yeah, which I think of that as Blitz multiplayer. But you're right, it is a separate form.
Mm-hmm. It's fun.
It was a blast.
Met a bunch of great people. Had a bunch of good times. We didn't really talk. So the podcast we recorded was before ProQuest was over. So maybe this week we could put together a video on kind of our post thoughts now that we have had a week since.
Yeah, that's good. I was traveling 4 days after
Pro We've been busy.
So I'm still catching up.
Yeah.
We'll get there, guys. Sorry.
None of us got COVID though, so cheers.
Yep.
And then what else? What did we read? Murphy, what did you read this week?
I'm still working through that Invincible compendium.
Oh, which one?
I'm on the first one still, but I'm getting close to the end of it.
When you finish Invincible, we should do like a series recap.
Yeah, I'm down.
That'd be really fun.
I'll probably be done with it, I'd say, within like a week or so.
There's 144 issues or something, right?
Yeah, I'll just power through.
Fair enough.
Sometimes you just gotta like not sleep as much.
Yeah, that's fair. Sleep's overrated. What?
So I'm doing that, and then I decided to catch up on all the independent books I have.
Fair.
So all my like Boom, Image, all that stuff.
Yep.
It's been a busy week.
Yeah. I'm still digging my way through Daredevil. I am now on the other side. I think I'm on the other side of King of Black. I haven't read King of Black yet. It's on my list.
Are the symbiotes running around anymore?
No.
Then you're on the other side of King of Black.
It just kind of ended. Yeah, those issues when... That's my least favorite thing about Marvel. I love Marvel Comics, but my least favorite thing is when it's like, all right, story. Wait, global event. This has to be involved for 2 issues. Now back to your daily scheduled program.
Yeah, and then it's just whatever. Oh, it's over.
And like nothing really progressed in the story, but you lost 2 months.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, that's how they get us to buy more stuff.
I know. Or read more things on Marvel Unlimited.
Speaking of crossover, interlinking story, etc. Murphy, did you get to go see Doctor Strange 2?
I did.
Yeah,
I got to see it the day before my parents got into town.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. I know this is a bit of a tangent off of our topic, but I've been dying to hear what your thoughts are on it.
I actually enjoyed it a lot. I think, they made Scarlet Witch real badass. Like,
Wait, John, have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it actually at right after Pro Tour.
Oh, that's what you went and saw?
Remember? Yeah, because I had time to kill, and there was a theater right there, and it was pretty empty, so I went and saw it. I was like, oh, this is like my only chance I'll get to see it. So.
I wish I would have known. I would have convinced the rest of the people I was with to stay and just go see it. I heard you were going to the movies, but I didn't know for what.
Yeah, I was looking for whatever I could at that point, but I did get to see it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Not being a comic reader, I'm just kind of the movie watcher type, and I like the MCU, series in general. There's some that are better than others, obviously, but I thought I've always liked Doctor Strange, so I thought that was pretty.
Oh, he's great.
pretty neat.
I need
Yeah,
to
I
pick
think
up his little Marvel Crisis Protocol miniature.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Mhm.
fun.
You gotta get one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I liked how it was done too. I mean, it was very clearly a Sam Raimi movie. Like, it was just exactly how he directs and everything. So
How's
it didn't
that?
really play out like a superhero movie anymore.
What is a Sam?
Sam Raimi, the
Yeah.
director.
Yeah.
So he, I mean, it's more horror, like Evil
Oh,
Dead style
interesting.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Interesting.
So it's like, yeah, it plays like a Marvel movie, obviously, because it's the multiverse.
Sure.
But like, there were just times where it felt like just a horror movie.
Interesting.
While I saw the previews, every time I saw one of those weird flashes like the undead or whatever, I'm like, what in the world are they jumping the shark with this one? Like I was worried, but it all actually fit together when you went to see the whole story. I was like, oh, all right, well I guess that kind of makes sense then. Yeah, now it has a context to it. But
Right.
Yeah,
it was very fun. I enjoyed it. But anyways, we can get back on our topic.
It's definitely a good one to watch. Tommy, if you haven't seen it, you should go see it.
For sure.
Yeah,
It
the
is
thing.
good.
So I do want to see it. I'm probably gonna wait for Disney Plus. And it's not even like
Reveals, dude.
What?
The reveals.
I know, and I'll get spoiled, and it'll be fine.
It
It's
will
not
be
like it's a
fine.
Batman movie that I'm gonna get spoiled on. I even waited for the Bat. Okay, so I even
You
waited
didn't
for
wait
the
for
Batman to come to HBO Max before I went and saw it,
That's fair.
because I could not wait for No Way Home. When No Way Home came out, my lovely wife decided we needed to go and took me. But it was very nice. I loved the movie, but I realized that I do not miss the movie theaters.
Well, see, I do.
See, maybe it's just the one we went to and when we went to it and what movie it was, but it was packed, and people were on their phones. People were using their phones as flashlights. People were taking selfies. People were talking, and I was just like, I could be on my couch.
That's a bad theater. Yeah, I hate when it's like that.
I don't have to miss minutes because I have to go pee.
Fair.
I don't have to sit uncomfortably because I don't want to miss a few minutes. I can just pause it, get up, go, come back. We're done. Resume.
Yes. So in general, I always love going to the movie theaters.
I used to. Pre-COVID, I did. In the before world.
I mean, and now in the afterworld, though, I still do. Like, I enjoy it.
That's fair.
I will say, though, this was the least comfortable movie-going experience I've had since they reopened, though.
Crowdedness?
Was it really crowded? Because you saw it on opening night, right?
Yeah, I saw it on the Thursday, so it was packed full, and I was just stuck between two, those types of big dudes who, like, they just gotta put their elbows out.
Yeah, and take up more than their space.
They're so broad, they have to just, like, have it all.
So you're just sitting there with both your arms in your lap, just...
I ended up having to fight. I knew that.
It's elbow war. This is on.
I knew that they were just gonna bully me the entire time if I didn't stand my ground. So I, being a somewhat bigger dude myself, I kind of did the same thing and planted myself square in my seat.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it didn't get aggressive, but it was necessary.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't gone to the movie theater that often. And I've had too many times in a row where I was just like, I'm not having a good time, and I am not even able to enjoy the movie, or I miss things because I get distracted of someone yelling or pulling their phone out or flashlights.
It was our buddy Chris who was there with us at Per Tour that convinced me to give it a shot, because he's like, look, I've had luck. I know what you mean. I understand the concerns and stuff, but he's like, I've had luck in the middle of the day. He's like, in the middle of the week, it's even easier. And now it's like, well, this is kind of a weird area for a theater, weird time of day, and all these other factors. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. There was almost no one there, and it was those big bucket seats,
See, that would be great. I would love that.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, this is great. I had a good time with that.
Yeah, and
I understand what you're talking about.
And even before, 3 apartments ago, when we would go to that movie tavern.
Yes.
That was great. Those were always a good experience. And then, but there was even the distraction of like people bringing you food or another beer, and you hit a button, and then another beer appeared. That was awesome, and I wasn't even distracted, even though people were like moving and walking around. It's just because of the way it was laid out, and you didn't feel as compressed, and there wasn't as much. The noise wasn't there. The flashlights weren't there. The phones weren't there.
I haven't had any experiences with that, but I will say, I'm loving how vocal crowds are now. Like, like with all the cheers and everything in these big Marvel movies, like I love it because you get some real gems. I remember when
I bet on opening night that's like super. Like that's the energy because everyone's there as a super fan.
Yeah.
Right?
What's your best example?
I think with Multiverse of Madness 2, people started realizing like we don't need to cheer as much again. We can like calm back down.
Yeah.
But like Spider-Man, this dude, when it gets to the part where Aunt May is giving the great power, great responsibility speech, he starts like, this dude's cheering. He's like, woo! And the whole room's like, nah, dude, like, people die when they give this speach.
Yeah, that's not the speech you cheer to, bud.
He's by himself, like clapping and wooing all over the place, and then like instantly realizes like that he needed to quiet down.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
That's fun. Anyways, now that I've sidetracked us for a good 10 minutes, let's get back to the topic at hand. But I had to know, what your thoughts were.
Yeah.
I was dying to see it, and I managed to sneak in and see it, so it was fun.
One last thing I wanted to mention on comics is save room in your budget for August. DC is doing a swimsuit variant cover edition. And it's so hype.
You just love the risque covers.
See, these are the gems you miss from not being a patron and not being in our Discord. You would have already known about the August swimsuit covers, but now you had to wait till the podcast because you're not a patron and you're not active in the Discord hanging out with us. So our main topic for this week is collecting cards versus collecting comics. Now, I broke this out into 4 categories. The first being acquiring, the second being storing, the third being cataloging, and the fourth being selling or holding on to forever. You can't, like I said, you can't take it to the grave. So eventually you're going to have to let it go, whether it's to an estate because you are old and senile and they have to pry it from you because you're going to the nursing home. It happens. So
that would be an interesting conversation.
That's going to be me. That is going to be me.
Let's go through acquiring.
There are some comics that I may actually request I actually take to the grave.
Just go to the grave with them.
In my will, be like, does little Johnny get this? Does little Susie get this? No, Tommy's taking it to the grave, literally. And that will be August Nightwing's swimsuit cover. Now.
Not the yoga one?
It may be an album of covers. We'll see. Maybe I'll just like cut them all out.
And then just make like a suit
scrapbook
jacket out of them.
Yeah, there we go.
You wear them.
No, because I want to be cremated. They'll be paper mache on the side of the urn.
That's a good. Yeah, there you go. So people know you really loved.
Love was true. It was
deep. So I could go there, but I'm not. The first one is acquiring. So what do we want to start with? Cards or comics? And acquiring comics or acquiring cards.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say we start with cards. I haven't bought cards in so long.
So when it comes to acquiring cards, there are 2 main ways. 1, buying sealed product. 2, buying singles. There are people that only do one. There are people that do both.
Are there really? I feel like everyone gets some level of sealed, but tries to be frugal and buy singles. Do you know anyone that's literally just bought singles?
Yes.
Never cracked a pack?
Oh, no. I mean, like, you're buying boxes when a set comes out, or you're buying like packs for draft, or you're just buying
that's
packs.
what I was like, because I feel like most cards, and this is one of those things which I guess probably an interesting difference, is like most card games, there's some sort of limited format where you are cracking
right, sure,
packs as
and
part of gameplay.
but I think that's playing a game. I don't think that's purchasing sealed to acquire the cards.
Yeah, but a lot of people do that. That's
absolutely,
how they acquire their collection.
Right,
yeah,
but it is
nice.
playing. I don't consider that part of the sealed category.
Okay.
Of sealed singles,
even though it's called sealed in a lot of situations.
It's not a sealed product that you are purchasing to just open.
Just open.
You are playing a game.
Yeah, okay, I agree. There's not that many people that, well, there may be, but I think there is a fair amount that don't ever buy just like a box to just crack.
Right. Like they'll buy a couple packs here and there. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that just buy sealed boxes with the gamble of hoping of opening what they want and opening boxes until they have what they want, or the hybrid where they buy some sealed and then they buy singles to finish their collection, or there are people that just buy the singles. Because I was watching a video the other day. It was very interesting. I'll try and find it and leave it in the comments. This guy went around and it seemed like he stayed at this store where a Magic event was happening. New set, Streets of New Campana just came out. I wish I remembered I feel bad I don't remember the YouTube channel. And he was basically asking every single person how much they spend on Magic per set and what they got with that money. So and there were a lot of people that just bought some singles. And there were a lot of people who bought cases. And there were a lot of people that bought like a box and some singles. So there is the hybrid. There is all three.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. All vastly different amounts of money. But
yeah, of course. I never thought there was just singles, but I guess it makes sense. Say you're a CEDH player or an EDH
and then you
player,
look at each set and then you just want those.
You're like, oh, a new zombie for my zombie deck.
Right.
Things
but
like that.
You don't care about holding sealed because you're not investing in it that way. And you're looking at it just for game purposes. And you look at each set and what could be added to your CEDH deck. So that would be someone who's just playing singles. Or you're a collector, but you're a collector of high-end cards, and you say you live in a studio apartment and don't have space for bulk, but you're just a collector more than a player. Then you would just buy singles, right? So
probably not. But I don't know.
I don't know. Or then you sell it. I don't know. You flip it.
Yeah, I feel like people end up either flipping or the collecting type like to gamble.
Sure.
They really do.
I have trouble like imagining collecting the cards for a game I don't play. Like that still is just like a wild idea to me.
Yeah, then explain. Okay.
Yeah,
it exists because there's baseball cards and hockey cards and football cards.
Yeah.
And
yes, but the sport, like a sporting card, it has, you collect it because it definitely has value, even though you're not in the MLB or something. But like a Pokemon card
also has value.
Well, yes, but I'm like, but
what gives the baseball card value?
Why would you start to collect cards of a game that you don't have any background in? I just could go and like start buying Magic cards. You know?
As an investment.
How would you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's just a wild thought to me. It's so different because there's celebrity people on those cards. It's not
right, but there's also Pikachu on the card. There's Charizard on the card.
No, but I get what you're saying because I had a little bit of I had some confusion around that too. But one of the things that has been often repeated, and I've never confirmed it, is that only like 4% of Pokemon buyers actually play the game.
Correct.
So that means 90+%, give or take.
That may be more post-COVID, but I don't know.
Well, exactly, but
we don't really know.
Never played the game. They
absolutely,
which is wild. I thought the same thing when I heard that. I was like, what? Why would you do that?
I feel like when Pokemon was popular years and years ago, that wasn't the case.
Right.
I feel like you
bought the cards because you played the game. Right. But then, so Murphy, we grew up in the same town, so we experienced a similar childhood where we played with Pokemon cards. Not every town is like that. And I found that out because friends that I've made later in life, I have made a lot of friends who purchased the cards but never played the game, or only played like playground rules, where you say it does it and it does it.
Interesting. And it's just a weird concept to me. Like, I understand why it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. I couldn't do it. Like, as much as I hear you guys talk about these games, like, there's no part of me that's going to be like, I need to go buy some of those cards.
Right.
Do you, just to tie it back, do you ever get comics that you don't read that just stay sealed in a case or something?
Yes.
Yes. So comics, though, I'll read one cover. I'm collecting covers more than anything.
But you will read a version of that, but not that specific one. Right. So in cards, there are more rare versions of cards. So like an extended art for Flesh and Blood, for example. So like a pulverized, I don't know, it's like $10 for a normal one, probably. I'm just guessing. And then it's like almost, it was 100, but now it's less probably for the extended art.
Yeah, it's like 70 something now.
Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily, you would play with the more cost-effective version of the card than the extended art. Now you could just bling out your deck and be a baller and play with the extended art, but most people will keep that in a nice top loader or something, or a binder.
It's an art piece. It's an art piece.
Yeah, but that can be played with. Like a variant cover can be read as a comic book. But most people would.
What about, but we're talking, I just want to try to tie it, because I'm curious, just on the comic book side. Like,
well, that's why I was tying it.
Do you have, like, if you had the opportunity and it was reasonable or whatever, and I'm pulling this out of my butt, so bear with me, to get, like, a Spider-Man #1 from, like, 1980, whatever, something super, super rare, and you got that, and you hadn't read it, right? You're not going to open it to touch that, right? Because
there's a digital version,
that's what I was about to ask. There's a way to read it?
Absolutely.
They've done that now. There was a time where if you wanted to read that issue, you had to open that book and read it. Yeah. But now with digital, like, you don't even need to pay for an app. You can go online and Google read Spider-Man #1 and it'll just pop right up.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I wasn't sure about, because I figured there was a crossover in that situation, which I guess pre-digital comics it was a thing. So now when you're acquiring comics, like I said, like when we buy these variants, we're not buying what's inside them. We just are buying the cover, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's never meant to be read. Like, I'll open the cover that's not worth
the $4 cover, not the like the standard, like, basic issue cost.
So here's another thing that goes with acquiring that's interesting to kind of compare and contrast. No, not that part, because we'll get that to the selling. I'm sure we'll get into the cost stuff, but
the cost of acquiring.
Well, yeah, but if we're going to talk about selling, then we'll talk about market's cost, exactly, right? But the completionist, because, like, Tommy does this, and it makes me nuts, because I would never do this, or I don't think I could ever do this. He'll buy.
It came from comics, John.
A set. That's what I'm curious. Like, how did it come from? A set or whatever absolutely. Of every single card, so that he has the full binder.
I'm like that too.
Yeah.
But what is that? What's the equivalent
$86 on just Amazing Spider-Man #1?
Because comics have
every version,
right? So comics have runs, and then issues have X amount of variants. Okay. And the larger, the bigger, the most important, the like book of the month or book of the year, that they could have like 20 variants.
You have 20 versions of
like the same comic,
1 to 20 in a series of. Oh my god, that's nuts.
So now let me put it to you like this. So
John, do you know about
the more or copies of a comic a store orders, the high you get, like, ratio variants. So there's like 1 in 25. So for every 25 ordered, 1 is this variant. 1 in 50, so on and so on. So my store is not very big, and they never get ratio variants really. Like not even for like Amazing Spider-Man really. So whenever there's a major issue, which I generally do every 50 issues now, I order enough to get the 1 in 50.
So you buy I like ordered 25 or 50, so you get that one extra, and you get that.
Yeah, so they'll like generally like with Spider-Man.
No, it's not. Like with packs where you
open. Lock on it.
Yeah.
I have a lock on the Spider-Man ones. Like they know that the reason I'm buying, like I'll buy 17 variants, which takes us from just getting the 1 in 25 to also being able to get that 1 in 50. So they know that I'm collecting those variants. So I've been a good enough customer, and they're good enough to me that I definitely get it.
Interesting.
But
that's not always the case. Like if I were to go to a random shop and just be like, okay, I'm going to buy X number, to get the variant, a shop may not do that for me.
Right. Because, but if you tell them, I bet you if you walked into any shop and said you wanted to start a pull list or get on their Comic Hub and start ordering weekly, if you gave them, I think it's 3 or 4 months heads up. So whenever the solicits first drop, like right now, if there was a book in August that you wanted, you could call up a shop and be like, hey, I really want like the 1 in 25. Can I like, or just, you can just order the 1 in 25.
Yeah. So Comic Hub has made it a lot easier to get stuff like that because like,
but on Comic Hub, I think you can only order 1 copy. Like you can't order 2 copies of the same cover. But you can get multiple copies of the same book if they're different covers.
Yeah, so with Spider-Man 1, John, I ended up with a total of 21 copies of the book.
Wow, that's wild.
But that's a Spider-Man number 1. That's like kind of your...
That. I remember.
Yeah. That's kind of like your cap.
Yeah.
I'd say no book really goes above that. Maybe like a new Batman, maybe.
And there were still like probably 10 more variants I could have gotten, but now artists are starting to do things as exclusives.
Yeah.
Either on their website or for a certain store. So it's kind of hard to get all of them.
Right.
Because like I can't be online continuously, like beating everybody to the punch on every store.
Right. It's like so John, think of like you're trying to collect every Flesh and Blood card, right? And then but that includes every art, so that means you would have to get like the Rudy promos and the Team Covenant promos.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And
it's
so
the same thing. Yeah.
That would be like trying to collect every comic now because of the different artists having these very limited, very low print sets of. Now you can get some, like if there's one you really want, then just
sure.
Yeah,
and it's technically possible. It's just impractical.
Right.
There's so many versions.
Right. And they're very
more expensive.
Yeah, and they're
like it's a flipper's market.
But most people, they aren't. If I've noticed that they don't flip that quickly, they'll just like randomly pop up, and so you just kind of have to have like almost an eBay like alert for it.
Well, it's not exactly true though. A lot of times I've seen comics that end up right on eBay the moment like the artist's pre-sale.
Sure, you'll see some, but like a couple of days after, once those initial ones that went up on eBay sold out, it may be a while till you see another.
Yeah,
it's like sorcery boxes right after the Kickstarter ended. There was some pre-sale flipping happening before we even get the boxes. But
yep.
Wild. Okay, yeah, and there's definitely some like exclusive ones in these first boxes and things like that. It's a similar situation. Interesting.
Right.
I still don't know about this completionist for either the cards or the. I think we all have a little bit of madness in us.
Oh, for sure. That you have to. No, you have to.
100% do. Like
no normal person does this, John.
John, the amount of times that I've blacked out at the bar and then woken up in the morning and had ordered like $300 for the berry. Like it's happened.
Never eBay while you're drunk.
It's happened too many times.
Oh no!
like way too many times. And some of my favorite comics are, it's like ones that I'm
as a
looking
result
at, and
of
I'm
that.
like, yeah, it's like ones that I'm looking at. I'm like, no, I definitely don't need to spend $300 on that. Like, I definitely don't need to do it. And then I have like one too many Jim Beams and Yinglings.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden, it's fine.
Yeah, Drunk Murphy decided that he's going to override that decision for you.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yep. That's so funny. All right. Well,
But yeah, so basically I feel like comics, there's no gambling aspect. The gambling could be like speculators, like you overpaid for a variant or something, but it's not like with buying sealed cards. There's not really anything like that with comics.
You know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Because that is the gambler premium is absolutely a big piece of the acquisition,
right? And which is why a lot of people play that. There are a lot of people that just buy singles because they either can't or they can't allow themselves to do it, which I respect. And if you can't handle it, then you should
absolutely
just do singles. Don't be tempted.
So here's another factor. So in cards, there's reprints, right, that affect long-term value. And
there are reprints in comics too.
That's what I was wondering. Does that impact the older stuff when it gets hit at all?
No, not really.
Not really.
It's a comics. I think is because there's such an easy way to read comics digitally, that comics have become a much more collector's market. A niche like physical comics is a collector niche market, where cards tend to be a player market. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean there is a player market for some games, not all games, but some games. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. But then your values get changed by the publisher when they reprint things, right?
But
like going into Magic,
I think a first edition, a first print comic will hold up better than a first print card, I think.
A lot of times it just comes down to, again, it's like each print of a comic will be different. It'll look just a little bit different, or sometimes vastly
completely different art. Sometimes it's like spoiler art.
It just becomes another thing to collect.
Different thing. No, I
right.
didn't realize that.
And like even
and it's not
if you see like old comics, they'll re-release as like facsimile editions.
Yeah. Like they just re-released the Spider-Gwen.
Those will still have value sometimes, because like the actual, like the comic that it is a facsimile edition of will be so valuable that the facsimile itself will be something.
Yeah, so like think about it. If they say they reprinted Dual Lands,
I mean that part
makes
total sense, because it's just like so the white border tunic comes out and its price starts near, or actually above in this case, the black border tunic, just because the nature of it being a tunic, right? And now as history packs hit the market over time, it will go down because they'll just
absolutely.
be super common.
But it also they haven't added a lot to the market yet, I don't think. Like there's
with history packs?
There hasn't been enough to affect the market.
Yeah.
But there will be.
Okay. Storing. Do we want to get into that?
Sure.
I think I have it easy.
What?
Storing cards versus comics? It's a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's the space thing. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Right. So comics take up a lot more space. And with comics, you kind of have to bag and board them to store them properly if you plan on reselling them. Yeah. And
usually
so
if you plan on literally anything, like I still kick myself for the amount of stuff that I just put in a cardboard box as a quote unquote floppy, just threw in a box and had in a stack somewhere. And now it's like I could have had stuff that was worth something, or could have been a cool thing to have in a collection, and now it's just ruined.
Yeah, like the condition of a comic is so important.
Yeah.
Like if it's not a 9 or an 8.5, of modern. If it's a modern book and it's not an 8.5 or above, it doesn't matter what book it is. It's not going to have the same value. Just because
Like
it's in the modern era, there's been like Mylar bags and all these different new kinds of ways of keeping comics really pristine over long periods of time with keeping the whites and everything. And just with the new paper that it's printed on, it's just better quality and meant to last. Especially like the new DC cardstock covers. Like that's not going to get damaged easily. But, and then BCW has these plastic bins that like open and close on the top, and they stack, and they're short box sizes because screw long boxes. My long box lifting days are done. It's not fun.
So I'm all cardboard long boxes.
How do you do it?
I have two of the BCW short boxes, one for graded
CGC,
and one for graded and then raw books.
Yeah.
And that's like my valuable collection.
Right.
And
okay, that's fair.
Then the rest of my
those are the boxes you grab if the house is on fire.
Exactly.
I should make those boxes.
The rest of my yeah, I mean, it was very important to me to
I
be
think
able to
yeah, no, I think about it all the time,
collection.
But I just have never put the time in to actually do that.
It's a lot. But then all my other boxes are cardboard long boxes.
Yeah.
And I hate it. They're so heavy.
I know,
they're
right?
So heavy.
Who would have thought paper? It's heavy.
Yeah, cards get heavy too, but they definitely are more compact. There's no doubt.
Like when you store cards, like I consider what I store my cards in also BCW. BCW, if you want to sponsor the show, let us know. It's like a BCW plastic again. It has like 4 rows to store cards, and then they have these like plastic dividers that lock in place so you can control, like if you don't have enough to fill the row, it just locks there. And then they also
it is a quality product.
Yeah. And like so for the comic books I have like the dividers, but they also make little dividers for the cards, and it makes organizing them super easy and like actually finding cards super quick, which is awesome.
In general, I feel like storing for comics and cards is very similar.
Cards take more time. Sorting cards.
That takes more time.
It takes more time. Absolutely.
Huh.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's easy, but then again, I actually really enjoy sorting cards.
Right, I do too, and I also
such a peace moment.
Right, and I enjoy both. I enjoy sorting cards, and I enjoy organizing my comics. They're just different experiences. Like organizing comics is much more physical, and
very physical. You are like lugging around boxes, and like you have to hold the books up while you put things in different places.
And then sometimes you run out of space in that box. Now, what do? Is the box above it also full? Do you add one in between? Do you add one before it? Do you move box? Now you have to create a new label for the boxes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of manual labor. But the actual bagging and boarding and sorting is much, much quicker than... like if I could put away a week's worth of comics faster than I could sort a box of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, I mean, I like pre-board my bags.
And that's probably like I'm averaging about like 13 books a week, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say, what the heck are you doing, man? Because there's so many times where like I'm sorting my comics, I'm bagging and boarding my comics, and it seems to take you like days to get it done. And like I could sort and process and put away a full case in like 2 or 3 hours, no problem. I've done it many times now, so that's why I was surprised when you're like, oh, it's cards is harder, but I guess
no, it just takes longer.
Yeah,
for me,
I don't think. What I've seen.
But you just sit and you do it at one time, right? Yeah, I do it in chunks. I don't do it all at once.
Oh,
I break that 2 or 3.
When you're doing that, you're like 6 months behind or some crap.
Right. Yeah.
Got it.
Like, yeah. Okay. So when
you said like I'm still working on my comics, and it's like 3 days later, I'm like, how is he still?
No. So basically, so what I do, because I would go crazy if I organize all my comics when I get them, but I don't merge them with the large collection right away. I wait a couple weeks for those to stack up because I have to pull. I'm pulling now like 30 short boxes or something like that, and to like because it's alphabetically by publisher and then alphabetically by book.
Yeah, we're jumping into the next category. Let's just go right into it though.
No, but I'm just, well, yeah, it kind of goes with storing and how I'm storing them. But
no, I see what you're saying because I do the same thing. I have like one box that is organized, but it's not in the bigger collection.
Right.
Because I don't want to access the bigger collection, like pulling out 5, 6, 7 long boxes and having them move everything around.
So I have a short box that says on the outside, instead of being in part of the collection, it says needs to be sorted or needs to be put away.
Yeah, I have
and
I
then
have my chaos box for my cards.
Right. And so once that fills up, then I do it. But I neglected it, so there were 2 short boxes worth. That's what I sent you the picture, because I moved the 2 short boxes, I sorted those, and put them into a long box. That I have a bunch of long boxes down in the basement, but because there were so many books that needed to be put away into the main collection, that I didn't have time to do, so it was like a whole long box worth. So that's why it took me a couple nights. But I was also
cataloging in storing component is a lot more logistically challenging in comics because there's no real set thing. Like for me, there's a new set, it comes out, I get my play set, I get maybe too many cards. That's like the big downsides. I get too many cards and I got to figure out what to do with the extra chaff.
Right.
But other than that, it's done. Like I never have to worry about that again, except when I pull them to make a deck and when I put them back after I'm done with the deck. Right. That's it. For you guys, like there's going to be something else. There's going to be another book. There's going to be
absolutely.
Another, in the series. And do you even know how long each series is going to be when you start?
No.
Yeah, so you're
some do. Some are mini series, some are limited series, and some are ongoings. So like Walking Dead is 144 issues.
It's never ending. It's never ending. That would be so hard.
Spider-Man's about to hit like 900 or something. 950 is it? No.
Yeah, I just get a new box for every set. I don't need to worry.
Spider-Man's hitting 900.
900, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Well, before we switch off of storing fully, we do have to mention that Tommy's insane and he likes to double sleeve even his comments in.
I did that at the beginning. I don't do that anymore.
I know. I just had to give that. I had to give you a hard time for that because I looked at you when you were doing that. I'm like, you realize these are never going above like 2 cents, right? Like, everyone has.
That's not why I did it. It wasn't because of value. It was because they would be ready to play.
Why are you
like I could just throw them in a deck because I double sleeve all my cards in my deck because there's some expensive cards.
You don't have to.
You can't double sleeve some. You have to double.
Why not?
Because then they're a different size. That's against the rules.
No, it's not against the rules.
You sure?
Yes.
Because then that's not like a thing you can check by the deck because it's a little bit farther out. I don't know, John. I think you have to. It's either one or the other.
So. I think you're insane.
I'm gonna look it up.
Anyone that plays would think you're insane too.
Okay.
I play with one double sleeve card, or not just one, but like all my expensive stuff double sleeved and everything else single sleeved all the time. You can't tell the difference if you have it compressed down and the air's out of it. You can't tell the difference.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up. We'll see.
Man, it could be crazy if he finds out that that's against the rules.
You dirty cheetah.
Yeah, I'll lose my Pro Tour championship.
Yeah, you're gonna lose that Pro Tour invite that you got at
that's right.
Pro Tour, right?
Yeah. Anyways, all right. So cataloging.
Yeah.
This part is interesting. You guys kind of talked a little bit about how you catalog. It's pretty simple for me. It's per set. Obviously, you get a box. You alphabetize it, and usually there's index number tied to all the cards. So you just put them in that order.
Yeah.
My exception is special stuff. So basically, Majestic and above for Fab, or the Majestics and super rare type things, or multicolors that are legendaries and Magic, things like that. So certain types of things I'll set off to the side because there's a little compartment that's basically like, if I'm going to look at this set and I'm building a deck, I'm most likely going to hit that section first because it's going to have the power cards essentially. And then after that, if I need a common or rare or whatever, then I'll go through the indexing to find the one that's, I'm looking for a particular purpose. That's how I do it with Magic too. It's the same thing. All my special cards are in one section, and then all the regular stuff is just in the regular.
So your collection, though, it like you access it to build different decks at different times, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a very big difference between.
Hugely, yeah. You have to be able to find the cards you need to find when you need to find it, but other than that, it doesn't really matter for the majority of them.
Yeah, so like with comics, it's more of a I know I have it type of collection.
Yeah.
Like I'm not pulling them out, and like the only ones I would show people are the ones that I have separated out into different boxes.
Right.
But then like I'll be like, someone will say, "Oh, do you have this?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know I have it." Like, but I'm not actually having to access most of my books.
Yeah, it's not like you're building decks or something.
Yeah.
So once
you
it's
never
there,
really
it's there.
Use them after you've read the first. Like, do you ever go back?
No, because in Marvel,
you don't have to anymore.
Yeah, in Marvel, any book that's 3 months old or older, you can read on Marvel Unlimited. And
I find this so fascinating.
And with DC Comics, any book that's more than 6 months or older, you can read on DC Universe.
It's almost like, why even have them?
Hey,
so that's kind of where it comes down to.
Magic Arena. Why even have cards?
Yeah.
Right. No, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the same thing. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Same thing.
So now I am very upset with myself. Again, like back when I was younger and I first started making my own money, and I was like, I'm getting into collecting comics.
Right.
For some reason, I would some of them I bought online. Like I would buy on the Marvel app. This was before the Unlimited app.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like pay a subscription for. Like I would buy the individual issues online.
And not everyone has access to a comic book store, so some people do just do that.
Yeah, and so now though, there's stuff that I own as a worthless little app purchase that if I had just paid the same amount of money in stores, I would have had it.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I like the digital, and I will say there's many of my Magic cards in some of the more recent sets that I'm like, why do I even own these, right? Like, they're commons, they're chaff, they're not important, they're never gonna be valuable because they'll reprint anyone that does get super valuable. Like, I have a whole chunk of boxes that are in Tupperware that basically I haven't done it yet, but I'm tempted to just throw in my non-climate controlled basement and leave them there in case for some reason I decide to go back to them. Like, but they'll be ruined. And so I haven't. They're still sitting in my office because I can't bring myself to do it. But it's all chaff. Like, it will almost never be worth anything. I can't.
Sure.
Like, so I struggle with the why do I even have this quite a bit. And then our mutual friend AJ, he's got an entire like walk-in closet full of Magic cards.
Oh yeah.
Like 15, 20 years. And I guarantee you the vast majority of them aren't worth anything. He does have some really, really valuable stuff because he was collecting that time period. But
right.
like I said, that stuff for me is already separated out. It's not even in the same box.
Yeah.
So,
right.
It's collecting's painful.
I think comics are easy. I don't know. I think comics are easier to manage and organize than singles, but harder than sealed. For collecting purposes. Collecting and storing.
That's a good point. Sealed is easy. That is why I like sealed. It's just boxes. You just have to have space. That's the one thing. Climate controlled space.
Yep.
And you don't have to worry about
sealed, you're talking about just a box of cards
like
that
a booster
you never
box.
know what's inside.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures of my shelf. But yeah,
basically you sell the Gambler's Premium.
Okay, I see.
So
I have brown cardboard cases that are sealed with stop tape, so it's like it came from the factory line sort of thing. And it's the most boring thing in the world, but they're worth probably the most of all the stuff out there, because you have Gambler's Premium on the case and on the actual boxes inside. It's nuts.
So now you can't really I guess this would be jumping into the selling thing, but you can't really charge a whole bunch because of the fact that you don't know if there's anything in there. Unless
you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
Gamblers.
That's the premium. Yeah.
And then
You
there's
actually
in Flesh
pay
and
more
Blood. There's
for
even
case.
there's a premium on a case because of the hit rates for a legendary. You're almost guaranteed one per case. So, and each legendary can be worth like pretty much the case value.
Yeah.
Or at least half of it.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. It depends on which
So.
case you're talking about, but yeah. Yeah, so you end up with the cases that are sealed end up being worth kind of around the range of the most expensive card you could get. And there's no guarantee you get that one card, right? And that's not a direct and perfect ratio, but it's generally a generalization. So you can, yeah, and yet someone could buy it off me for that price, open it, and literally get nothing of value.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, on that topic, I guess we just go into selling, because this is actually, like, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why it's easier to collect as an investment. Yeah. In my mind, because it's like it's guaranteed
now,
to have that value.
How long do you keep them before you sell them?
3 years is around the time where the price curve happens. So there's you have the hype where it goes. Usually, you get pre-sales that are over what MSRP are. You have post-hype MSRP and drop, and it dips below MSRP down to either a manufacturer's required pricing or
distributor pricing.
It just depends on the game. They're different for different games, but basically it's low, and then over the next 3 years or so, you get kind of a not quite linear, but close to a linear curve up and then above, and then it just keeps going on beyond that. And then at some point, usually probably in the 5-year range, based on the data I've looked at, you get a divergence, because in that first 5 years, you end up with a price parity. So it's like people do the math to figure out what your odds are of getting any given card, and then figure out how many chances you have given the number of boxes, etc. So they'll give you kind of a tie to what the catalog is, and then after a while that diverges, and the sealed product ends up being worth much more than what's expected value. It's called EV. So
yeah, that's wild to me.
Yeah, it is wild. I don't deny that.
Yeah, I don't think I have the heart for it. Like, if I spent good money, and like with comic books, I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
You know, especially with grading now, and like cards you can get graded as well to define their value like fully.
Right.
But, like, I always know what I'm getting in that. But like if I bought like a whole box of cards and got nothing, I would be upset.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I don't intend to ever open any of this. Like, I have a whole giant shelf full of sealed stuff that I will sell sealed. So that part is, I don't get that heartburn because I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to sell it as
sealed. I'm saying if I was the guy who bought it from you.
But they're buying it for a different reason. They're buying it because they want to play. There's games you play when you open. That's what we were talking about earlier, the limited, where it's like you open the pack and play with the cards you get.
So like a draft.
So you do this at your store during release, and the people that are paying the premium are paying for the nostalgia of that set.
Because you so being able to get together with friends and draft an old set that you used to
play a set you guys played together as kids.
Right.
That's really cool, actually.
It is, and it's a powerful feeling to play.
So like, okay, cards. Murphy, here's a. So what if you could pay $200 and have like a 4-player N64 night with your old friends that you played N64 with?
Yeah, like GoldenEye or whatever your classic game was with your friends. It's like people are willing to do that, and there's value there. It's an interesting market. It's nostalgia in a box.
Literally,
so you don't.
Yeah,
that's not.
But that's also what comics are too. It's like, oh, remember when that happened? Or
the comics are, when it comes to the selling.
This is when the character was first introduced. Their first appearance.
Yeah, but like selling comic books is more of a value thing than like a utilitarian thing.
For sure, yeah.
So here's another thing that may blow your mind. I don't know how much you follow this, but so you talk talking about graded comics and stuff, people actually grade boxes.
Yep.
Sealed product. So you can have
like the box that it was shipped.
You can have you can buy a graded first edition Pokemon pack.
Yeah, packs, boxes, and cases can be
graded. Then the grade, but at that point, like the grade goes away if you crack the package. Yeah. And then what the graded sealed pack is worth could be more than any one card if you get unlucky.
Yes, absolutely true. Yep. Yeah, actually, generally true is what you're saying. What you said is generally the case. A sealed pack will be worth more than what is in the pack generally.
Do they encase it like a graded comic?
Yeah, they have a special casing for them now. It just started recently in the past maybe 2 years or so that they
with
started
more of a description.
Cases. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all relatively new, but I think that's kind of where things are going. It does seem it.
See, one thing that seems a little backwards to me, though. Like all of it just seems a little like I like the idea of you sell cards to somebody that then like when they buy them, they're getting to play that game again.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
but like if you're telling me you got graded sealed packs that you'll never open, it's like why have them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I get that.
I don't even get graded cards. So I know there's, and I apologize to any of our listeners out there. I know there's a massive market for graded cards and people love doing it. I don't get that at all. It's just not for me. I will never do it. I have one graded card, and that's because the one was selling on eBay cheaper than I could get the raw one. So I got a deal on it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll crack it open if I ever want to play with it. And I haven't yet, but that's the only graded card I have, and I don't think I'll ever have any others.
I mean, grading is pretty new to cards in general, right?
Magic cards have been graded for a long time, since the 90s, or maybe a little after. I can't remember when they first started doing it, but
back when
probably not as long as comic books, though, because comic books have been doing it since like the 50s or something, right?
Grading?
Yeah, I don't know when grading started with comic books.
I don't know. The first,
but comics have been around a lot longer than trading cards. 90s was the beginning for trading.
Like I'm talking about like I know, for instance, with comics, I go through CGC. They're like the industry standard, and so they just started doing cards. I know that.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's expanding.
It is definitely expanding because a couple of the big players got black eyes recently on card grading. They graded fakes. So because of that, others that have expertise in the space are expanding into the space because there's a lot of money here. Obviously, it's like baseball card. Actually, you know what? Card grading has probably been around as long as comics because baseball card grading was the thing. Yeah.
CGC started in 2000.
Yeah, I guess you would just kind of have them. You didn't have them professionally graded.
Right. You could put them in like nice stuff though.
Yeah.
Most people didn't take care of their comics though.
No, that's why you see like a Amazing Fantasy 15 that's a 0.5.
Yeah. Or like just the cover.
Yeah. Or what, there was the person bought the tag, like the action part of Action Comics #1 cover for like $700,000.
Are you kidding? That's so crazy.
Somebody, like CGC like verified it.
Wow.
They're like this is for sure part of
legit a piece of the cover. So like we were saying before, there's a bit of madness in this
absolutely
collecting.
Absolutely. If you're not a little bit, you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah, so selling, I mean, I've done a lot of it recently, and that's been an interesting, turnaround. Because, like, my personal collection, I'm not going to sell. Right. I don't, I basically would sell comics to pay for my collection being graded. So like I would get 10 comics graded and sell 6 of them.
Right.
You know, just to keep paying for my personal collection.
Maybe I'll do that someday with cards. It does seem like a smart way of doing it if you're going to do it. Because I'm sure at some point I'm going to be like, oh, this card, I got it. Like, this needs to be in plastic on my shelf, right? Like, someday I'll have that kind of strong feeling about this particular card.
Yeah.
So what's that card going to be?
I don't know. It depends. Like, yeah, I don't know. But imagine, say you won Pro Tour.
Oh, right? Sure.
You have a card in that set that's going in plastic because that's such a strong emotional connection to that moment, you know?
Right.
And things like that, or the first time you open a certain Fable. Like, I still haven't. I know for you that's like normal. You do that every other week. But for me, I've never opened a Fable, so that might go in plastic someday.
Only 3 times.
It's insane because they're so rare.
Once on camera, though. We got one on camera.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe you did it twice off camera. And like right after, I was like, you always open on.
But it was like, wasn't it the same? It was. I think it was the same weekend.
Same week. It was
the same weekend. I was getting caught up on Arcane Rising. I opened a random box of Arcane Rising and got the eye. And I opened one box of Tales First Edition. Just because it was like right when it first came out, and so I was opening them all just to get collection to start building some decks, and I pulled the Crossroads, and then so on stream we got Fable. The Everfest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the first Fable I'll probably be excited for it. Maybe put that in just for fun. I don't know though. I'm not sure what it would take to get me there. It'd have to be something that really struck.
Okay, so here's a question, John. I've been hearing a bunch of whispers about both DC and Marvel and just comic books in general making a jump or adding a new line of revenue through NFTs. What do you think about that?
Depends on how they do it. And I've had this rant before. NFTs are being poorly implemented currently. Generally speaking, there's a few, outliers, but generally the idea of a non-fungible token, which is what that stands for, it has a lot more power than is being used right now. It's basically just a numbered series of whatever piece of art, and most of the time it's digital art that's very easily produced and copied, which makes it not make sense.
Right.
Whereas there's utility that you can add to the NFT so that it actually programmatically allows for more. So what I mean by that is, say you buy an Amazing Spider-Man NFT that gives you access to a unique special print every first, every Spider-Man first, right? Something like that. Very cool. I think that is a way to show that you fully support you're 100% a Spider-Man collector, right?
Right.
And then you get special things as a reward for that, right?
Okay.
That's similar to what MetaZoo does, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. Like I was telling you the other day in our Discord, I got
you got that
NFT card, and I'm like, I think this is my favorite card in all of my cards for MetaZoo.
For sure. I think it has to be.
This is going in plastic, like
sort
of thing. Like,
get that graded. Get that one graded.
That is one that has a feeling for me, right?
Yeah.
But if they do it as they're just going to sell, art as NFTs that are essentially serialized pieces of art that are just digital, I don't see it being the right move. No. Now, granted, the big publishers have a lot more sway, marketing, and capability for launching something like that than what you're seeing with like the apes and the wolves now and all these other things that are out there.
Right.
But I just don't see it holding value in the long run, because despite the fact that you can prove transferability and that sort of stuff, it's still a piece of digital art. I can take a screenshot of it and pass it on. And yeah, I won't technically own it, but what are you going to do to stop me? Right.
Right.
So that's where it's like, you got to give it more value than just the piece of art for it to make sense, in my mind.
Yeah, you have to make something special out of it.
That's and it's very doable. It's just most people are ignoring that part of the protocol because it's harder. Frankly, it's harder to program.
I'm just going to tell you, I still don't get them.
Okay, Murphy, here.
I think at this point I'm never gonna get it.
All right, here, Murphy.
It's been explained to me so many times.
Murphy,
and
so
I don't get it.
What if? Okay, so you bought a Spider-Man NFT, right? A Spider-Man Genesis NFT, the first one. That this first round of NFTs, if you get one at the ground floor, you get every Spider-Man comic digitally to you when they come out.
Here's a better example. You know how you were talking about earlier how you're kicking yourself because you bought digital instead of physical?
Mm-hmm.
What if buying the digital actually was as traceable,
and
as
valuable,
collectible, as buying the physical? Because that's what this
because you bought it back then.
Yeah, and it proves it. That's what the whole blockchain component does, is that it's essentially a time sequence log of what happened. And a series number. So you have a specific number. You know how you have like 1 of 200 or whatever? You have a specific number attached to your digital product. So that's what it does. Now, is that the right move? If it's just comics, if they're just NFTing comics, I don't think that's the correct
But
move.
what if it adds the value of a subscription service?
Agreed. Like if they do more with it, then it's like I'm a super fan. That's what you're saying by buying it.
And then so like the first run they do the Genesis, so you get every Spider-Man, and then the second one, the next ones that come out, it's just the Amazing Spider-Man title, and there's one that's just for the Doctor Strange title, and there's like different ones. So if you hold the different coins, they're like activating subscriptions. Yeah.
And then you could sell your subscription when you're done.
Right.
You're
exactly.
like, I don't care about this anymore.
And so it would have all the ones since that coin was minted, or that NFT was made.
Interesting.
It's a weird world, and it's not well established yet.
No.
It's just I have friends who literally do that for work, and I'm just like, I don't know. No, I can't do it. I don't get it. I've never been the most tech savvy anyways, so like,
yeah, that's fair.
You start talking about like things online, and I like become like a 90-year-old man.
Hey man, it doesn't matter. I am tech savvy, and I've been in crypto world since it very first began, and I don't get what they're doing with NFTs right now. I think it's absurd. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So you're not alone.
No,
I'm glad to know I'm not alone.
No, you're not.
I have a friend who he was explaining to me what he does for a living, and he said that he was in a non-agnostic international NFT development conglomerate. And I was like,
amazing. That's amazing.
I was like, don't ever say those words. Like, you gotta find an acronym or something. So yeah, I've tried and I don't get it.
Well, there's money to be made because people think there's money to be made, as with most of this stuff that's collectible, right?
Yeah, I mean, any collection. I mean, selling comics blew up during everything going on.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Well, so at the end, collecting cards and comics is surprisingly different.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences as well. I think they attract different types of people, sometimes the same people, for different reasons.
Yeah.
But, there are definitely people that prefer one or the other. There are people that do both, that are crazy. Absolutely.
Yeah, crazy. The last time I collected cards was, I've told you about this, Tommy. Like, my mom threw away all my cards. Like, when she was moving, and I had just gotten out of high school. And then I was like, well, there goes my whole collection.
Yeah.
But I did used to have, like, binders and
same
cards and everything. And then they all just went away.
Yeah. But it's harder to do that with a comic book collection.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom threw away the comic book collection. She'd have to carry it. Right.
Yeah, it's hard to lift.
It's like, I dare you to take it.
Yeah, try.
But that's also, so the other, circling back when we were talking about like having your like bug out box of grabbing, countermeasure, if a thief breaks in and finds your like bug out box, they're just going to grab the bug out box. But if they're secretly hidden within your collection, that means that they would have to be a comic book fan and know what to look for.
Oh, please. No one's coming in for comics to steal them. And I doubt that anyone breaking in to steal something from you is going to grab your bug out box. They're going to grab your TV or the obvious valuables. While comics are valuable and obvious to us, they are not to most people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't being serious. It was more of a joke of an excuse of why I have not done it. It's always a back of my head. Well, to be fair,
the most valuable stuff you need to put in a fireproof safe in your basement. Obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
That's actually where I'm headed to. We got a safe in the basement at the new house. I was like, yes.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. I know of somebody. I don't know them personally, but friend of a friend situation, and they literally have a gun safe that's like a big gun safe filled with magic cards.
That's
worth
awesome.
More than the entire property.
That's awesome.
By a lot.
That's
I'm about to start buying sealed packs of cards though, and
just watch John's market update. You'll know when.
There you go. You'll know which one's to buy.
I'm about to be all over your market update.
Yeah, it's every Thursday.
Yep.
That seems like an easy way for me to make some cash.
Yeah,
it does. It's a patience game. You got to hold on. But
well, he's been training for years in comics.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say, as a collector, you shouldn't have any trouble with it. Yeah. It'll be fine.
This is not financial advice. We're just
not at all.
All this advice.
Well,
anything else to add?
No, that wraps up on the main topic. Just to quickly go over, if you missed it this week, we did have our top 5 comics for the week. And so if you want to know what to pick up last week, or if you want to know what to pick up this upcoming week, you can watch for our video that will come out Tuesday morning. And then on Thursday, we will have the market update for Flesh and Blood. Is it going to be Flesh and Blood again?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sticking with that. Okay. Unless there's a good reason to change it.
True. And then John and I have been messing around with some new Flesh and Blood decks, so we might be able to get out a classic constructed gameplay for the decks that we plan on playing for ProQuest Season 2, so that we can get first place and go to France Pro Tour.
That's not happening for me.
Totally not happening.
I'm not going to win first place.
No. I mean, like, who wants to go to France right now? What?
I mean, I wouldn't mind going to France. It's just I am not good enough to beat competitive players. Right. I know myself.
I feel like it's less of like a cherry to chase, I guess, or like a thing to chase, because
because you just wouldn't want to go to France. If I won it, if I somehow managed
if you won it, would you go to France?
I would totally go to France. I would buy a ticket the next day. I would definitely do it. I'd be like, well, I guess I know what I'm using my vacation time on.
Fair. That's fair.
But there's no way in hell I'm going to win it.
What's that?
What was that?
You wouldn't go to France, Tommy?
No, I don't think so.
What if it's your destiny?
My destiny?
Destiny. That's where your superpowers become unlocked.
No.
Come on.
No. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to, sure, but I don't think
it'd be a pricey trip.
It would be a very pricey trip.
That's the rough part.
Right. It's because like
the big event. Yeah.
Right. So basically, you have to decide if you want to go or not before you play.
It's got to sell one of those old comics. You'd be able to afford it. No problem.
Oh, sure. But then that would require me to sell an old comic.
This is one thing I noted that we didn't talk about in selling. Tommy and selling. I have a feeling that doesn't exist.
I told you. We talked about it at the beginning. To the grave.
I mean, I know I'm never going to sell my
Diamond
collection,
hands. Diamond hands.
Like I'm helping this guy sell his stuff, and I'm taking most of my cut of it as comic books.
Oh wow!
Like I'm stacking them, and then I mean, like I said, I have sold just to keep myself, keep my collection getting paid for.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like too much work.
Yeah, it can.
You have to go to the post office a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, so it's I basically stopped doing that at this point. I'm just helping this dude sell his stuff, and then that's probably gonna be it for me on selling.
Yeah, I have a shop, so when I turn that on, I'm at the post office like every other day. The lady there knows me. She's always like, "What are you buying? Or what are you selling today? Or what is this?" You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd get packages that got returned to the mailbox there, and because for some reason it just didn't get dropped off, so I go in. I'm like, "Hey, this is supposed to come in. Where is it?" She's like, "You got something from Dragon's Treasure, huh?" Because I get stuff from really weird name shops.
That's funny.
Yeah. She's fun to joke with, though.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's it. It's 100 degrees. It's hot. I'm done.
I'm like dying in my apartment, and I'm next to the AC unit.
My house doesn't have central AC.
So
and it went from like 60 to 100 real quick, and we didn't have time to put in the AC units. So it is hot.
Yeah, I bet. All those comics are going to melt.
I know.
It's no good.
But yeah, I think that wraps it up for the podcast. Anything you guys want to close out before we close out?
Yeah, stay cool, have fun, crack some packs. Murphy, give it a shot. You might like it.
I might like it.
You might like it. What you should do is get Tabletop Simulator. Then we can at least play, and then you just have access to all the cards for free.
Oh, there was a.
It's on sale. I think it's on sale right now for like $10.
Now. Yeah. So anyone out there that wants
let me double check.
Yeah. Was it Humble Bundle or something?
No, it was just on Steam.
Oh, it was on sale on Steam. That's easier. Yeah. Hopefully we didn't miss it and give you information after the fact.
Where was that?
No, it's back to $20.
It's back to $20.
Yeah. We missed it. Sorry, guys.
If you were part of the Discord, you would know that.
You would have known. Yeah, that's true.
No, it says it's still on sale.
Well, I just saw it said $20. Maybe it's a special sale for Tommy's.
If it might be on sale on Steam, but
it is on Humble Bundle.
It is Humble Bundle.
It is Humble Bundle, so it's not Steam. It's $10. Yep.
Do it. It's worth it.
So go have fun
if you play these.
And then you can play not only card games, but you can play like Star Wars Legion, or Marvel Protocol,
or any board game, modern day.
And it's $10, and you and your friends can play a board game together.
It's fun.
You can flip the table.
Yeah, don't tell people to flip the table.
You can flip the table and just say screw it. Make sure you save first.
That's right.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is.
All right. Well, I think that's our closing note. Thank you for listening. Make it until the end. You got to learn about the wonderful sale of Tabletop Simulator being half off. Enjoy your evening, or whatever time it is in the world, right? Is that how it goes?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Have a good one.